This is Hemant.
And Jessica.
And you're listening to the Friendly Atheist Podcast. If you like what you're listening to, please go to patreon.com/Friendly Atheist Podcast. I don't have a lot of happy stories for this.
But it's such a beautiful day.
It is a very nice day and very disturbing in terms of what has been going on in at least my little world for atheism stuff.
I will tell you, I have been doing a fantastic job of just hiding from media. I'm not on Facebook very much anymore. I don't watch the news when I get up anymore.
You don't have health care. You missed it.
I mean, that is absolutely correct.
You
I
won't.
do not presently have health care. Please, I hope I get home safe. But anyway, so all of this is going to be a surprise, and I expect I'll be angry.
You will, because I am.
And 4-week-old cold red wine.
I didn't know where it went, so someone put it in the fridge. It wasn't me.
It was your baby, wasn't it?
It was the
baby. She loves that cold red wine.
She carries it everywhere. All right, this one, look, if a story makes me mad, that's got to be bad.
You're the reasonable one.
Or at least I've seen and heard so many, I've been doing this for long enough where it's all right, it's another Republican saying something crazy. I've heard that story many times. It doesn't really get to me. This one gets to me.
Really?
Yeah. So let me explain some background. It'll take a couple of minutes, but I promise you the payoff, at least in terms of whatever, it'll be worth it.
Oh, God.
Okay, here's the background.
Okay.
The Scopes monkey trial, the one, the
from the
20s.
20s?
Yeah, the 1925.
I'm so glad you said that because I was going to say 40s and I would sound like an asshole.
John Scopes, he was a substitute teacher. Mm-hmm. He taught evolution. That was illegal in Tennessee at the time. Blah, 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 lawsuit. They actually did a courtroom debate. And you had William Jennings Bryan, who was representing the state of Tennessee, saying Scopes was wrong to teach evolution. And you had Clarence Darrow representing Scopes saying, no, the Bible's silly. And it became kind of it sounds like a Hollywood movie.
And it was a Hollywood movie. I actually do remember. You don't remember. You don't remember anything.
No.
When I wanted to write for Friendly Atheist, I did a movie review on Inherit the Wind.
Did you really?
That was one of the first things I did.
Very nice. That's a good movie. I've seen that movie.
Gene Kelly's in it, my favorite actor.
Nice.
He's a reporter.
Really? Are there different versions of that?
I think just the one. He's like a reporter, like a bit part.
It was a good movie.
No, it's very enjoyable.
So Bryan and Darrow were the two lawyers, big names at the time, even bigger kind of after this
huge deal.
Trial. John Scopes lost. They said, nope, Bible right. He had to pay a $100 fine. He was found guilty. That's the Scopes monkey trial. All of this took place, and I hope I'm pronouncing this right, the Ray County Courthouse, RHEA, Ray County Courthouse in Dayton, Tennessee. So if you go to the county courthouse right now, the Ray County Courthouse, there is a statue that was donated years ago. No, this is fine.
Okay.
They have a statue of William Jennings Bryan. It actually went up in 2005. Okay. I don't know which group donated it, but they donated it. And it's a big part of their history, what happened there. So they're like, yeah, cool. Commission didn't really do anything formal. They just said, yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
And then the question is, okay, well, can you also get a statue of Clarence Darrow, the guy who represented the science side of things?
Right.
And I think from the commissioner's standpoint, they're like, well, if you want to get a good statue and someone wants to donate it, we're not going to say no, but these things are expensive.
And it's on the property?
It's on the courthouse property. Okay. I mean, this isn't promoting religion or anti-religion. This is saying, look, the Scopes monkey trial happened here. These are the two guys who defended two sides. It's a part of our history. The commission is like, yeah, we don't care about the sides here, but sure, if someone wants to make a statue, these things are expensive, go for it. So they, the American Humanist Association and or the Freedom from Religion Foundation, there was a sculptor who said, I'll do it, but it will cost money because it's a lot of my time to make this right. Legitimately so. FFRF ended up paying a large portion of that bill. And I don't ask me where all the money goes, but from what I can read, they said it was about $150,000 that FFRF was donating, and that is in line with statues of this kind, of this size, whatever. So anyway, they made it. You could see pictures of the statue. It looks like a real statue, and it looks like the guy. It's not even like one of those weird statues with like a mushed face.
Yeah.
No, it totally looks...
Soccer player, question mark?
Oh, yeah. Like,
have we talked about that already?
Was that Lionel Messi that they had the weird...
I've never heard of that one.
All right.
Brazil, question mark?
There was that Jesus photo that was all weirded
my
out
God.
the painting.
Oh God, it made me so uncomfortable to look at.
But this is not that. This is a legit,
Yes.
awesome statue.
Wait, do you have a picture of it?
I do. You could see the picture right here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's
I
good.
mean, I don't
looks
know what
like
I expected.
Yeah, I know.
It looks like any statue that's anywhere in like New England of all of the guys.
Yes, exactly. So it's going to be unveiled and put up on the courthouse lawn on July 14th in a few weeks.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Field trip?
So, okay. If you want to go to Tennessee, I don't know. That sounds like a far trip, but that would be awesome.
Yeah.
So they're going to unveil this thing. Okay. That's part one. Part two is ever since they started announcing that the statue was being built and that it was going to happen, it's going up on the lawn in a few weeks. All the reporters are like, is there another side to the story? Is there a conflict here? Because this is like the guy who represented the evolution side, the anti-Bible side. So of course they're going to find some Christians who are like, this is a travesty. This is anti-Bible. And they did. And I'm going to read you an article that came out last month.
Okay.
Because they quoted this woman. Longtime activist June Griffin tells us she's one of many taking a stand against the proposed statue of Clarence Darrow, blah, blah, blah. All history proves the existence of God and evolution is a joke, blah, blah, blah. By the way, none of this matters for the purpose of the statue.
Not at all.
This is a very serious matter, she said. The courthouse is a sacred place. You don't turn it into theater. She went on. God is real. He's not pleased with this. My favorite quote. You can come in here with all kinds of French opinions of this, that, and other, but this is not France, and we don't run on opinions, and an atheist is not on equal footing with the Christians.
Oh my God, I'm so obsessed with the conservative rhetoric that's like anti-France for
Anti-France.
like really
For no reason.
Like the Pittsburgh not Paris thing, which like means nothing, and this isn't Oh my God!
Wait, she went on.
Do you think it's just the only European country they know?
It very well may be. Ask them to name 5 European countries. They will get stuck after 2, 3, some of them.
They'll get tripped up on whether the UK is European anymore.
June Griffin went on to say, there are people, they just do. I've heard talk of, quote, well, there's always spray paint. So she's basically telling the reporter, graffitiing this statue when it's up there, it's not out of the question. It's like,
cool, do it. We'll get so much more press about it.
We know it's you. You're admitting it.
It's going to be a hell of a short, suspect list.
Yeah, it's like a 2-minute Law and Order episode or something. Like, we know it's you. Okay, so that was a month ago. I posted that, and it was just like, this is great. But this is one lady.
And it's them, it's muckraking, right? It's them digging up, finding the person who is anti this.
Yeah, who knows if she's representative?
Every other part, right?
I think I haven't heard a lot of criticism. I mean, again, and the county commissioners made this clear. They're not, I don't know why it's offensive or controversial to take sides.
Right.
But they're saying this isn't about sides. These are 2 lawyers who were a big part of this courthouse history. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we welcome both statues. You finance them. We're not going to do it.
Right.
But if you want to do it, we'll put it up here. So anyway, didn't think much about it.
The county courthouse? I want to see
RHEA, Ray County. County. Anyway, that's part 2 of the story.
In Dayton, Tennessee?
Dayton, Tennessee. So that's where we're at, right? The atheists are going to come in on July 14th to unveil the statue. June is very upset about this.
Well, it's also outside of her month. It was a June, July joke. I'm sorry about that. It's a 10-hour drive. I don't think I'm willing to do that. No. That's a lot of Hammond and Jess time.
That's a lot of time. So didn't think about this since then. I'm just like, looks like this thing will happen. I guess maybe I'll write something on the 14th, whatever. Mm-hmm. So I get a call today from a friend who says we're kind of worried because this June Griffin lady's been saying some crazy stuff. So I look it up. Okay, here's where it gets a little scary. Okay, so on her personal Facebook page, there's a bunch of posts about the statue. And some of them, I'm used to seeing Christians talking Christianese on their Facebook walls.
Sure.
So, she's very upset about the statue and, God's going to shine his wrath on all of us or whatever. I'm used to that.
Yeah.
But this time it got a little scary. So this is a post she made today. We're doing this, Friday the 23rd. A post she made today said basically to the atheists, You'll get a nice you'll get a nice surprise when you dare to step on sacred grounds of our courthouse. Blah blah blah. You will be brought to nothing when we get through with you. Our God will bring upon your worst fear. This is not a threat. This is a promise. Psalm
That's what
149.
threats sound like.
I know, right? Psalm 149. If you look up Psalm 149,
Okay, now we have to be there. What is Psalm 149?
Psalm 149, 149 basically says to the believers of God, to God's followers, may the praise of God be in your mouths and a double-edged sword in your hands to inflict vengeance on the nations and punishment on the people, to bind their kings with chains, blah, 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 to carry out the sentence written against them. This is the glory of his faithful people.
Okay,
so
I'm
it's not a good
prices.
It's not a good Bible verse either. It's basically saying, hey, God's followers, go ahead, do what you will. God will give you the power to slaughter the other people.
Doesn't it ring, kind of remind you of when Trump said that thing about, you Second Amendment people, something.
Yeah, it wasn't Trump, but yeah, someone.
It wasn't Trump?
No, that was someone in a Western state said Second Amendment solutions to these problems.
I think Trump said something in a similar vein.
I'm
I could
sure
be wrong.
several conservatives have said something about that. But this seems like a not really subtle threat against the atheists who are putting up these things.
Imagine for a second. Take this journey with me.
Yes.
Imagine a brown guy said that on his Facebook wall.
Oh, believe me, I thought about this. I'm like, if I wrote this
oh my God.
about Christians...
The FBI would be in this
townhouse. If a
townhouse.
Muslim said this about Christians. Yeah. She also said in another post, by God's grace and power, we will put down such nonsense. But how exactly are you going to put down this? I don't really know. Here's the other scary thing. She runs a separate Facebook page all about promoting the 10 Commandments.
Sure.
And the profile
It's a
picture.
good use of your time.
Yeah. The profile picture on that separate page is her holding a rifle.
Oh, Christ.
I assume it's a rifle. It's a gun. I don't know.
A big gun?
It's a
biggish
big
gun?
gun. So she's holding that. So it's like, well, I know you have weapons or access to weapons.
Right.
By the way,
Holy shit.
Why with the 10 Commandments too? Thou shalt not kill. Here's a gun.
Unless
really?
Most people don't see there's an asterisk next to thou shall not kill. And then there's a lot of fine print.
Yep.
A lot of fine print on the 10 Commandments. Not a lot of people know that, Hammond. And they don't include that a lot in the courthouse. But if you actually read the original stone tablets, as I have, obviously,
you could see the asterisk.
There's the asterisk and then a lot of fine print. It's like working at a bank. You just got to disclose a lot of things.
Turns out there was another article that featured June, a local news article.
Loud, huh?
Well, she's the vocal one person against this. But she said to that reporter, I don't like these lawyers. She basically said, let's engage them in the debate, which is fine.
Sure.
And then she said, if not that, the humanists should have to defend themselves in court. That's also fine. And barring that, Griffin suggested the association form its own militia. If worst comes to worst, I will challenge them to meet us in their uniforms at King's Mountain, just like John Sevier did, and we'll settle it over there. Hey, atheists, bring your militia, I'll bring mine, we'll settle this with weapons. Again, with the violent rhetoric here.
This woman is unhinged.
Yeah. So it got a little crazy.
That escalated quickly.
Dude, I know.
And let's take a step back. Over a lawyer who lost a case 100 years ago.
More or less, yeah.
And I guess that's what I don't understand with, I feel like the thing, and granted, I'm as petty as they come, so, I get mad over dumb things. But, this woman is having, a full-on media meltdown over a statue. And I don't even know.
And it's not even promoting atheism.
No, it's not promoting any. It's just
Sarah was, but doesn't matter.
And it's going up next to a statue of quote unquote her guy.
Yeah.
I just don't understand. How is this? How is your hair? How is your
How's your hair on fire over this sort of thing?
Is hair on fire an expression? Because I
now
love it. I was gonna say why do you have a hair trigger for this is what's gonna tip you off. If you had to walk a day. If you had to walk a day living in a quote-unquote Christian nation, if you weren't a Christian, and that's the shit you're going to, get your panties in a bunch about, take a step back.
Yeah.
And really reevaluate what is going on. And also, the thing about, what'd she say, it's not a place for pageantry,
yeah, you're turning this into theater.
Theater. Girl, defo wants her nativity scene up every Christmas.
Sure. So I'm reading through all this stuff. I'm looking through Facebook, seeing what other stuff has she said. Is this worrisome?
Is she
it turns out one of those posts, I'm not going to dox her or anything, but one of those posts was very clear about what her phone number was. Yeah. It was out there. I didn't have to search. It was just there. So I'm like, well, screw it.
Did you call her?
Yeah. I want to know who this lady is. So I gave her a call. And I told her very...
Is she our special guest?
Dear God, no. I didn't record it because I didn't know the law. I'm like, is that going to be illegal?
And that's a state thing too.
And is she going to get mad if the first thing I say is, look, I'm going to record this. I told her, look, here's me. She doesn't know who I am.
Yeah.
I work with a site called Atheist. She doesn't know what that is. I'm like, but I have some questions. Can you answer them? She's more or less, I'm paraphrasing here. She's like, I'll answer whatever you want. She loves talking in the media.
Oh,
clearly.
Yeah.
Clearly.
Oh, yeah.
So anyway, I start asking her some basic questions, kind of like the ones you're bringing up here. Like, really, this is the issue? Whatever. But first, I'm just like, okay, with all the rhetoric that you're saying, are you going to bring weapons to this July 14th unveiling? Because that's the sense I'm getting here, and that's what I'm worried about. And what would a normal person say to that?
Oh, absolutely not. I was exaggerating, or I was being... What'd she say?
What'd she say? She said... It wouldn't be a surprise if I told you.
Oh my God, Hammett!
Yeah. Okay.
Oh my God!
So that's my first. I'm like, oh, you're not going to say no.
We're going to Tennessee. Who has a couch we can crash on?
I'm not going to Tennessee.
I'm going to Tennessee.
Okay, so this goes on for a while.
Donate to our Patreon so I can go to Tennessee and maybe get shot. I don't know.
Maybe get shot. There
It'd
you
make
go.
a great story. I don't have health insurance. That's fine.
I was trying to tell her, what are you so mad about? And she said, I'm like, why are you bringing violent rhetoric into this? And she basically said, the atheists brought violent rhetoric. I'm like, how? No, they didn't.
Ma'am?
She said it was violent of the atheists to rob our taxes. To which I say, huh? Mm-hmm. How are they robbing your taxes? Here's her argument.
Oh, I'm so excited to hear this.
Atheists said we want to put up this statue of Clarence Darrow.
Yeah.
If you say no, you're basically saying the William Jennings Bryan statue can be there, but that is the Christian guy. But we're going to say no to this other one, even though it's the same sort of situation. We're paying for it. It's our statue. We want to donate it. It's the same situation as the Bryan statue.
Right.
You can't say no. We have the legal right to do it. And so she was saying, if the county commission said no, then the atheists would sue them. And if they sued them, then the county would have to fight this in court. And if the county lost, they would have to pay the legal bills for the other side.
That is how law works.
Yeah. And if the county has to pay this bill, where are they getting the money from? It's from the local taxpayers, so they would up the property taxes in the area. Ooh. So eventually, if the atheists win this legal battle, it hurts the local citizens. She had a convoluted theory.
That is a long stroll to how it hurts her personally.
And therefore, she could make violent threats against them, according to her.
Can I just backpedal? Because none of that happened.
No. And the county said, yeah, it's fine. And so the atheists are like, cool, then we're not.
Why am I on the Tennessee government side of this argument right now? This is not a comfortable place for me to be.
So I said to her exactly this. I'm like, these are not the same thing. I mean, look, if first of all, the lawsuit versus violence, I mean, if you lose the lawsuit, you still live. These are not the same things.
Yeah, at what point does she talk about violence?
Yeah. She said rhetorically to me, well, is it worse to die or be sued? I'm like, be sued.
It's worse to be sued?
I said it was worse to be... I told her it was worse to die.
Yeah.
Sorry. I told her it was worse to die than be sued. And then she kind of laughed.
Classic Hammett humor.
So I tried again. I'm like, look, are you bringing weapons to the unveiling? Quote, let them find out. I told her the atheists are a little worried that you're going to, go crazy here.
That Jessica's going to be there and get blowed up.
And she's like, well, why are they afraid? I said, because you're going to friggin' shoot them is why they're going to be afraid. You have a picture of yourself holding a gun, with the 10 Commandments. And
don't even.
So we get into a little tangent here. I'm like, why are you holding the gun with your 10 Commandments thing? And she's like, well, the 10 Commandments and the Bill of Rights and the Declaration are all the same thing.
My second commandment right.
Yeah, right. So she's like, yeah, so my Second Amendment and the 10 Commandments are more or less identical because they all influenced somehow.
June? Hey, June. Hey, June. It's me, Jessica. I'm glad you're listening. Honey, no.
No. So that's why she was doing it, because to her, promoting the 10 Commandments is another way of saying, I just like the Bill of Rights and the Second Amendment. So anyway, back to me. I'm like, seriously, are you going to shoot atheists? Literally asking her that question. She says, quote, I'm like George Washington. I don't make plans. When the time comes, we'll see what happens. I'm going out of my mind at this point. Like, what are you saying?
Is this woman, like, okay.
Going back to what if a brown person said this?
With all seriousness, at what point is this woman threatening violence?
Oh,
at what point is this, like, Hemmant has to call the fucking cops because this woman is implying very strongly.
When the friend who contacted me saying, you should check this woman out because we're a little worried, that email came with we've already contacted law enforcement. I'm like, that sounds like you're overreacting. And then I looked this up.
No, they are not.
No, she also said, well, look, I mean, wouldn't you be freaked out if atheists brought their weapons to the unveiling and said kind of the same stuff about you?
Yeah.
Like, right? Yeah. Isn't that a fair question? She said, no, because God's going to protect her against, quote, these wicked, ungodly atheists, which I like better than the godly atheists, frankly. And so she wasn't worried. So I said, we tried one more time. I'm like, what is it that you're afraid of?
Sure.
Or whatever. And she said the Darrow statue was a problem because it goes back to his advocacy of evolution. And she says to me, evolution, quote, leads to students becoming atheists. They don't know there's a God. What do? They blow their brains out the first time their boyfriends get mad at them. The boys, and then she referenced the Columbine killers, saying, like, they believed in evolution and Hitler. And I'm like, I don't have time to debunk all the stuff you were saying.
We are way steep in the muck.
Mm-hmm.
So she said because of evolution, teenagers commit suicide when they get
all
dumped?
The violence we're seeing in schools happens because we teach evolution.
Oh.
Yes. I mean...
Okay.
That was her argument. So she opposes evolution, and this statue glorifies evolution.
It's just, the thing is, like...
And Hitler, by the way.
It's not even internally logical. You know what I mean? Like, it's not even a thing of, like, I laid out this, maybe, like, my connections are tenuous, but I laid out, like, an if-then thing that leads from evolution to school violence.
Yeah, if you're trying to draw the logical map of all of this.
It just doesn't even, like, hold internally, and it just...
Well, it's the same sort of thinking that says, why did, Hurricane Katrina happen, or why did...
the gays.
Yeah, the gays. Like, in their minds, there's a logic to it.
Yeah.
In reality, there is not.
Right.
But
yeah, because just to say, like, the mere existence of gay... Like, where you're... I mean, it's the same as anything that they're, like, super focused on gay marriage or abortion, where, like, why? Why is this the hill you're going to die on? I don't...
She went on to tell me, we won the trial, referring to Snopes.
100 years ago, way to ride that wave.
Yeah, we won the trial, we won it, and the Bible won, and people had enough faith then, and now they don't. And then she added this new war that was going on is going to culminate right here.
In Tennessee?
And I'm like, again, that's the violent rhetoric thing. And I'm like, what do you mean by it's going to culminate right here? These people are atheist to communists. They will lose. Okay, so I'm like, look, let me level with you, woman.
God.
Here's the deal. You're threatening these atheists. They are seriously freaking out about it.
Yeah.
They're worried you're going to hurt them. Should they be worried about this? She said, let them worry. I don't care if they worry. I hope they can't sleep at night. Which, by the way, that is how terrorism works.
Yeah, that's the definition of terrorism.
For life.
Or you alter your pattern of behavior as a direct result of somebody's threats or of their violence.
So I tried again.
Is a fucking terrorist.
Try it again. What are you gonna do on the 14th? How long
was this call?
30 minutes.
Jesus,
I'm like,
really?
Yeah. I'm like, what are you gonna do on the 14th? She said, I'm not gonna tell you what I'm gonna do. I don't know for sure what I'm gonna do. It'll be revealed at the last minute. Okay. So I've given up now. I'm not getting a straight answer.
Dangerous.
Yeah, I hang up. First of all, I let my friend know the conversation, and I sent this information to them because they're already in touch with law enforcement and they're trying to figure out what to do. They've
That's
contacted
really
the FBI.
scary.
They've contacted.
Have they?
Yeah, they've
Eesh.
contacted law enforcement. They've contacted the Southern Poverty Law Center about the hate group stuff. So they're in touch, but they don't know exactly how to handle it. Whatever. So that's happening. On the 1st of July, this same woman, June Griffin, is hosting a rally of her own, basically anti this statue rally, which is fine. She has a right to do that.
Sure.
But it's also being co-sponsored by a few different groups, and there are a couple legislators who are going to be there. So I called up the guy who's co-sponsoring this thing. It's the head of the Tennessee Pastors Network. And I talked to him. He was delightful to talk to.
Yeah.
Dale Walker is his name. I talked to him for a little while.
Oh, that's such an adorable Southern name.
Right. Talked to him, and I'm like, look, here's where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
I'm fine with the protests. I'm fine with all I don't like the statue. That's all well and good.
Sure.
But come on, this lady's going way too far, right? Yeah. Tell me she's going too far. And
please tell me she doesn't speak for you is kind of what you're saying,
that is
right?
exactly what I wanted to know. And then follow up on that. Like, are you really going to keep sponsoring this event with her? He more or less defended her, saying, I know her. She's not a violent woman. She's never been a violent woman. That's not who she is. And I'm like, oh, that's nice, but who cares? Like, it doesn't matter if you know her and she would never hurt a fly. She's still saying this horrible stuff.
Also, I watch enough true crime documentaries to know that is the pull quote from every single neighbor of like, he was such a quiet guy.
Yeah.
I would never expect him to be violent. Like, I've heard that shit before.
Right. Are you going to stand by those words after she shoots up people? And finally, he's like, look, if she made a bold threat, no, I would not join her. And then added, but to my knowledge, she has not made a bold threat. And this is after I read him all the bold threats. Okay, so there's that guy. I also called both of the legislators, trying to figure out, are you going to show up at this thing? Neither of them were in the office. I left messages. We'll see. So that happened.
Holy shit.
Tell me again how Christians are persecuted in this country.
Okay, so first of all, nice work. That's some bang up, like,
Thanks.
on the ground journalism you're doing out here.
I can fake it sometimes.
Yeah. Second of all, this to me is a really interesting microcosm of patterns of behavior we see among law enforcement and various races of people, right? So there's some white kid holding an AK-47 and they talk him down and take him in peacefully. And then there's, Philando Castile who gets pulled over and gets shot 7 times. And this is such a interesting demonstration of, hey, this woman has made multiple threats.
Not subtle threats. But she's in the majority.
But right, and the fact that you're like the cops don't know what to do about it, like, oh my god!
I don't know that, by the way. In this case, I don't know what they're going to do.
But the fact that like nothing has happened, I feel like if this was
a
Muslim guy, this is a black guy.
Oh yeah, exactly.
There would be a SWAT team flooding her house.
Yeah.
Right? Like, is that too far off for me to say?
No, I think people would treat this more seriously if a Muslim was saying it about a Christian event or something, or an atheist was saying it about a Christian event.
God.
But when a Christian does it, honestly, I just wanted that Dale Walker guy to be like, look, that sounds ridiculous. Of course I don't stand behind that. And instead he's like, no, I don't condone violence, but she's fine.
She's one of the good ones.
Like, come on. Okay. That's not even the only story of like Christian
violence
or horrible rhetoric. Because this is another story that kind of stems from that. This is the reason a friend of mine even contacted me about this story, because she read another one that happened a couple days ago. And here's the background you need to know about this. This is much shorter. There is a giant cross in the city of Pensacola, Florida. It's in a public park. It is a giant cross.
Have we talked about this
We
before?
have not talked about this before.
Just lots of other giant crosses.
Yes. And basically, I don't think we've talked about it, but it's very clearly a Christian cross. It was put up by Christians. It's used on Easter. There's a plaque that commemorates like Easter. There's nothing secular about it. I think they call it a war memorial or something to honor the troops, but it's very clearly a Christian, it's put up by Christians. It's for Christians to celebrate Christianity, whatever. The American Humanist Association filed a lawsuit over it. There were 4 plaintiffs who were atheists in the area. Thankfully, one of them still had legal standing when a judge decided to weigh in on this, because the other 2 of them had moved away.
Oh, I see.
One of them, I think they had another reason saying he didn't really have standing in this case.
Okay.
But a 4th person did, so they could rule on the merits. And that's what a judge did. And this week we found out that the judge said, look, the law is the law. This has to go down. You have 30 days, City of Pensacola, to take down this cross. It's a victory for the humanists.
And it has to be taken down and burned. It means it has to be moved to private property.
Yeah, and actually, I think, correct, I hope I'm not wrong on this, I think he also said, look, there is another option. The city could sell off this property to a religious group for fair value, and that's another way you could handle it. But you got to do something within 30 days. So that happened. And this was... the court, like, you had to argue this in court. And the lawyer who did that is Monica Miller, who is an attorney with the American Humanist Association. She's been with them for 5 years, really good at what she does. She won the case. And when the AHA announced the victory and the media in the area covered this, she was quoted a whole bunch in it. And so after she
how's
won...
she doing?
That's exactly right. I saw some, we're Facebook friends, and I saw some vague message about, like, she's getting some backlash. And honestly, I didn't even think anything of it, like, because I'm used to, like, atheist lawyer friends getting people talking shit about them and stuff. That's not news to me. But then, like, the next day, I saw what she was referring to, and it wasn't through her. It was through someone else. There was a random guy, his name is Lou, who lives in Florida, Lou Cobb, but he basically posted something saying, and I'm going to quote what he posted. Here, he posted her picture in front of the cross because she had taken one. He posted her picture from the AHA website with her phone number and said, "Here's the idiot." It was her work phone number, not her cell phone, so it goes to a switchboard, but still. Here's the idiot attorney that fought for removal of cross in Pensacola. Let's make her famous and run her out of town. It's that
nice.
Let's make her famous bit that I'm like, again, what do you mean by that? How do you want to make her famous exactly? You know, what do you want to do? And this thing, here's the thing. I don't know who this guy is. His bio on Facebook said he used to work at, what was it? The Santa Rosa Sheriff's Office. Yeah, Santa Rosa County Sheriff's Office. He's retired from there. So, like, he's not a nobody.
Right.
And his post was shared at the time that I wrote this 7,000 plus times. So you can't share it. And I looked through those shares. I looked through so many of those shares.
Why?
No one said.
To what end?
Because I wanted to know what people were commenting in addition to sharing it.
Oh. Or
and
like, look at this idiot in terms of the guy who posted it. Or like,
yeah,
these assholes
exactly.
posting this garbage.
I didn't see anyone doing that. No one sharing it was saying, this is wrong. They were more either just sharing it blankly, like didn't add anything, or they were saying, oh, these atheists, blah, blah, blah. But some of them got worse. And this is where it got bad. Like, yes, they called her a cunt. They commented on her looks. They said, one of them used gun emojis. That was there. Atheist, hypocrite, moron needs to go bye-bye, like to Afghanistan or Iraq. She's as ugly as sin. Like,
sure, that's relevant.
She's not, but like, why?
But it doesn't matter. Honestly, it doesn't matter. Like, is the second you stoop to commenting on how a woman looks because of like what she does, you're a garbage human. I hate you.
Exactly. Another person. It's a shame nobody made her famous and turned her into a hit and run victim.
Holy shit, guy!
She doesn't seem mentally stable. I mean, this got really, really bad. And when I asked her, I talked to her before I posted this, and I'm like, this is pretty messed up, and I want to post this because people should see what you have to deal with.
Right.
I'm like, what would you say to all these people? Because part of me was like, screw you all, I won. I was hoping she would do that. She didn't. She was totally professional. She said she has gotten so much positive feedback from atheists and Christians. These are clearly anomalies.
7,000 is chunky anomaly.
But at least she's gotten a lot of positive feedback personally.
Yeah.
All right. And she was just doing her job, and she'll continue to do her job.
Oh my God.
That was it, because she's awesome.
Is she based out of Florida, or is she with...
No, she works with the AHA in Washington.
In Washington.
Which is funny, because like you're going to run her out of time. She doesn't live in Pensacola, people who are mad about this. But all this stuff is happening in a couple of days where you have atheists basically doing what? fighting for the First Amendment and then getting harassed over it, saying, "Oh, we want to donate a statue just like the Christian one you have here."
Getting harassed over it.
Getting threatened with violence over that one, and yet who cries persecution all the time?
Okay, I'm
is
circling
so
back
annoying.
to the Tennessee thing because I think it's kind of interesting that they already had, because the Williams Jennings Bryant one went up in, you said, the early 2000s?
2005, yeah.
And I think it's really interesting because I feel like when I like see that movie or when I think, and obviously
Inherit the Wind.
Yeah, Inherit the Wind, I'm obviously very biased, but I feel like that movie is very much, and like the story that seems to be told is always, it was a little guy standing up to like the big Christian baddie who wouldn't let him. Like, I feel like that is a kind of David and Goliath type story wherein William Jennings Bryant was the Goliath. So like the fact that they put up a statue, I'm like, I don't know if you got.
Do you want to honor Goliath?
Yeah, I don't know if you got that lesson there, buddy.
Yeah.
I'm
so anyway.
opening my carton of wine
All right.
because this is too much for me.
But yeah, it's a messed up week, and this is absurd that this happens. I hope that gets attention anyway, because people should see that.
So.
All right, different story altogether.
Do you have a positive story anywhere in this week's mix?
Yes. All right, let's go to the positive story.
Thank you.
Then I'll come back to this one.
Okay. Sure, a little palate cleanser.
The background here.
Sorbet course.
Ultra-Orthodox Jewish men, super religious people, they will go on planes and they will...
make people switch seats.
Yes, because they don't want to sit next to women, because they don't want to accidentally brush them. That is sexual.
Well, we're gross, so...
Yes, clearly you are. Therefore, but this one grandmother last year filed a lawsuit against the Israeli airline El Al. She filed a lawsuit saying they made me move my seats.
Good.
That's sex discrimination because they would not have done that if I was a guy.
Can you sue over something being garbage?
And an Israeli court this week said, yeah, you're right, grandmother. The airline cannot make women move their seats.
Yeah.
If the person, let's say the ultra-Orthodox Jewish man,
is the one who
asks you, hey, would you move seats? And you wanted to move, fine. If you said no,
but
whatever.
They can't
but the airline cannot tell you to move seats. And that's it. And she said, her name is Renee Rabinowitz. She said in a statement at the time, I think, when she sued.
When did this happen?
This happened in 2016.
Okay.
The verdict came out this week.
Got it.
For me, this is not personal. It is intellectual, ideological, and legal. I think to myself, here I am, an older woman, educated. I've been around the world, and some guy can decide I shouldn't sit next to him? Why? Yeah.
Renee, you have an open invite to this podcast.
Yeah, so anyway.
Is she American?
I don't know.
Girl, you can crash in my guest room. Hang out with us.
I don't know where she's from. But yeah, awesome. She won the case. Go her.
That's great.
That is awesome.
That's an excellent statement, too.
Right? Yeah, it really is.
Can I tell you, I have this like horrible, like, you know when people like have the image of like, oh, I'm catching the touchdown in Super Bowl or like whatever, like your dream moment. My dream moment is 1,000% somebody trying to get me to move because I'm a woman. Oh my God. Oh, if it happened to me. Oh, the yelling I would do.
And you would say?
I mean, there would be no, I don't
plane
know what.
Flipping?
Plane flipping. Y'all, I got real strong when I'm angry.
Good luck with those little trays.
I hulk the fuck out. Yeah, I just flip the tray up.
You throw one peanut at someone.
No, I would pitch a fit. I would pitch a fit and everybody would write mean stories about me because the story would end up being like woman delays flight because she's a bitch.
Seen on YouTube, crazy woman screaming.
Woman has no chill, delays flight for all. Somebody misses a wedding.
Yeah.
It's just one of those like, oh, if I had just found myself in that situation.
And there are other options for the Jewish men, by the way. They can buy 2 seats.
Yeah.
They can travel with a friend. They can just get over it and not touch the woman accidentally.
I don't know, walk or something.
I don't want to touch the people I'm next to
there.
on a plane.
No, yeah. Hey,
I've sat on planes.
Everybody
Who cares?
finds the pits.
Right.
Like nobody wants to be there.
Yeah. So happy story.
That was a good story.
All right, back to the shitty story.
Oh, have it.
Okay. There is 2 parts of this.
Oh, God.
There's the Southern Poverty Law Center. They're the ones that have a hate group designation.
Right.
And they say this group is a hate group. And usually a lot of those groups, we're talking like the KKK. The reason they're labeled a hate group, besides all obvious reasons, is not just because they have an unpopular opinion. It's because they perpetuate lies.
Okay.
They really do hate the other people. So, for example,
that's an interesting question. I never knew what qualified something as a hate group.
So, an evangelical megachurch, for example, that says we oppose gay marriage, we think homosexuality is sinful, not considered a hate group.
But the Westboro Baptist Church,
Which actually says, nasty, horrible things,
Right.
does stuff. Yes, they are. And so are groups like the American Family Association, Liberty Council, Family Research Council.
Sure, 'cause
These
they
are groups
target-
that spread lies about gay people. I mean, they will say things like they are more likely to be child molesters, predators, nasty things like that that have no basis in reality. That's why they're considered hate groups.
Right.
Okay? So, Southern Poverty Law Center doesn't. Now, since there are atheists who are going to yell that I'm even saying anything good about the Southern Poverty Law Center, I think earlier this year, they made a list of anti-Muslim extremists, calling them haters.
Okay.
And on that list
Oh, no.
were people like Majid Nawaz, who's a Muslim who's trying to reform it and make Islam more progressive.
Oh.
And Ayaan Hirsi Ali, who's the victim of female genital mutilation.
Yeah.
And even writes in her, I think the latest book, I forgot what the name of it, says, here's what we can do to fix Islam. And it's not like stop believing in it. It's here's what we can do to make it more progressive within the confines. They were labeled as haters. So as soon as that happened, people were like, screw you, Southern Poverty Law Center. You totally screwed this up. They have not removed them from their list. They double down on saying why they should be there. It's BS. I think it's BS. Okay.
you can say bullshit.
Oh, yeah. But that's Southern Poverty Law Center. They have some negative parts to them, but for the most part, they're fine. Right. Okay. Then there is charity GuideStar. There's GuideStar, which is a charity website that basically it's a huge database of every nonprofit group in America. And so for me, I sometimes use GuideStar if I'm doing any research and I want to, for example, I want to know about American Family Association. They have to file a 990 every year saying this is how much money we made in donations. This is our expenses. This is where our money went. Here's who made money on our staff. They, as a nonprofit, you have to file that in exchange for not paying taxes, things like that. So GuideStar makes available all of these 990s, at least 2 years and beyond. So I don't have their 2016s, but I might get their 2014, 2015
Statement.
paperwork. Yeah. And they do this for everybody. This month, GuideStar announced that on charities that SPLC, Southern Poverty Law Center, said were hate groups, they would put that designation at the top of your page. So if people go to look up Liberty Council, it would say, hey, Southern Poverty Law Center calls this group a hate group. You don't have to agree with it. We're not taking a side on it.
FYI.
But it's an FYI, and we feel that Southern Poverty Law Center is worthy enough that we could share this information with you, because GuideStar's whole thing is we want to give you information about these nonprofits in a fair, objective way. And this is where some of these Christian groups got mad. They were saying by using the SPLC hate group code, designation, you are not being objective. You are saying, here's a random other nonprofit that does this hate designation. It's almost always against Christian hate groups. You don't see atheist hate groups because we'll talk about that in a second. But
we're so chill.
Yeah. But they were saying it's not objective and you should stop using SPLC data. I don't know if I agree with the don't use it at all sort of thing. For what it's worth, I looked up because Majid Nawaz has a nonprofit. Ayaan Hirsi Ali has a nonprofit. Their groups have never been called a hate group, from the SPLC.
Just them personally?
Just them personally.
Ooh.
And their groups had no such designation.
Okay.
So, okay. But yeah, that's the Christian argument here. You are taking a stance, GuideStar, by providing this information. It's unfair. Do you want us to get shot by a crazy person or something?
Right.
So anyway, that was, I'll leave it there for a second. And then I want to talk about why is it always the Christian hate groups? But yeah, I'm curious. What do you think about that designation? Does it make sense? Is that valid information to put up for people to see? Or is that saying we're taking a stance? You should know, hey, this particular group, they're hateful.
Oof. It's tricky because in theory, I think it's a not a bad idea to make sure people and I think because so many of these groups like operate under very innocuous and purposefully vague terms that
American Family Association.
right, and just say the words family and liberty and
Yeah.
freedom because like everything is red, white, and blue in their world. So I think there is merit in saying like, hey, just so you know, these people have been flagged. It does make...
And for what it's worth, they do provide stars and stuff
right.
Based on, we can calculate based on their returns. They spend this % on overhead. That is less than average. But those are more objective things. You could just say, compared to other nonprofits. More subjective.
Yeah. Well, I guess my problem would kind of fall in... And the things I don't pretend to know a ton about the Southern Poverty Law Center and like what their deal is and who they're supported by and all that. So what's it called? North Star?
GuideStar.
GuideStar. Is North Star something else?
No.
I think it's like a transit. I think it's like a snowmobile company, actually. GuideStar is... It's not like a government agency,
no.
right? So it has
a nonprofit of its own,
right? So it has no obligation to.
They can do whatever they want.
I guess that's kind of where I'm circling to is they can do whatever they want, and you can agree or disagree, and just sort of take that as with the weight that you think it deserves. I think the problem then comes in with if people think everything is set in stone. Like if Southern Poverty Law Center said so-and-so is a hate group, that's what it is. So I think it happens when we stop looking at things in shades of gray and look at things in black and white, which is understandable. Like
and if you're going to make a donation, the one thought I had about this, if you're the type of person who's like, I want to make a donation to a group, I should do my due diligence and do some research. And you came across this hate designation, I find it very hard to believe that someone out of nowhere who's doing their research, random computer noises, I find it hard to believe someone would be doing this sort of research and not know they're already considered a hate group by a group like the SPLC.
Yeah, because I feel like people don't generally reach out blindly to, like usually
to make a big donation.
Right.
Like to the point where you're going to GuideStar to look at their 990s.
Yeah, so for Christmas this past year, we donated, my brother and I, for a gift for our parents, donated to, I can't remember what it's called, but it's basically a charity that is for like undocumented students and making sure they have the support they need, because my brother teaches and has several undocumented kids in his class. He teaches on the Southwest side, and it's when Trump won, it was
I'm sure they were
fucking horrifying. So anyway, all that's to say is like, I did my due diligence, but I feel like that's the first time I've ever went like, okay, I want to look for a charity that does this, and then found one. I feel like most of the time when I donate to things, it's because I have a personal connection to it. And so whether it's the ACLU or whether it's the place I volunteer, from there to there, like, but it's, I don't know. I guess
you're looking for a cause. You're not necessarily looking for all the behind the scenes work. Right. And
I guess I'm wondering how frequently it happens that somebody is just going in blind.
Yeah. The Christians, most of the Christians and some others who are on that list of the hate groups that were targeted here, they wrote to GuideStar's CEO and said, quote, "We think it's a reasonable point that an aggressive political partisan group, I assume, like the SPLC, should not be allowed to be the judge and jury of its opponent's character and motivations. The fact that SPLC only targets groups on the political right supports this contention." Okay, but here's the problem with that logic.
Okay.
Groups on the left, as far as I've seen, you don't have to like exaggerate and lie about what the right is doing to make them look bad.
Right.
And if you want evidence of that, look at all the political satire that's on TV. Look at The Daily Show or Full Frontal or Last Week Tonight. When they are mocking conservatives and the right wing, they don't make things up. They don't lie about them. What do they do?
Regurgitate.
They regurgitate quotes, and they play clips of things they said and then the opposite things they once said.
Right.
Like, you don't have to lie. You just show people evidence that they're liars. So you don't have to be extreme. But for the right to make fun of liberals or to make fun of LGBT, or make fun, to target LGBT people, Planned Parenthood, you have to play edited, misleading video. You have to lie about what they do or think or act You're not just quoting gay people saying something.
Right.
Like, no, they are totally exaggerating and lying. That's why they're considered hate groups in this sense.
And aren't they just the best example of sort of biblical thinking? Because when you are raised on the Bible, you have your conclusion, you work backwards to like line up your world and your facts to make that thing true. So that's what they're doing with anything like this. So their thesis statement is gays are bad. And instead of saying, okay, I'm going to live my life and do my research and then come to a conclusion based on the shit I see, what they're doing is saying, all I need is shit that agrees with my present worldview.
They start with a conclusion.
And they start with a conclusion and work their way backwards. And that's frankly why it's so frustrating and impossible to debate with people or have a real conversation about it. Because don't get me wrong, I will have a real conversation with somebody about anything. I love to argue. It's my favorite. But when somebody's fallback point is, well, no, because Bible, there's nothing I can say and nothing we can say to make that true, because they don't believe in science. So if I give them
you can't give them scientific explanation.
That's not going to do shit. They don't they fall into logical fallacy traps so easy and quickly because they don't. So I feel like you and I tend to like not only look for the truth, but also look for like our own gaps in knowledge and our the times that we fall into logical fallacies, which for me is frequent and dramatic. But I try to be very self-examining in that way of saying like, okay, I
try to learn more about stuff that's true. I think your friend Matt Dillahunty,
close personal friends. We met once.
I think I'm paraphrasing something he said way better, but basically, you try to learn more true stuff all the time. And if you have those gaps in knowledge, the closer I get
to truth, the better.
And there are ways to get there. Anyway, so far SPLC hasn't said they haven't said they're not taking it back. I don't think they're targeting the Christian right or anyone on the right. I think they just say these are our standards. It just so happens that it's usually the right.
They're the ones who tend to be the loudest.
And it's not even a anti-Christian thing because most Christian groups, nonprofits included, are not on their list.
Right.
They're not going after the people who think that way. They don't care. They're going after specific groups. Okay.
Wait, quickly, I found the charity I donated to, the Young Center for Immigrant Children's Rights. If I done fucked up on that and they're a bad charity, let me know. Otherwise, donate to them, I guess.
There you go.
Unless you don't, in which case, donate to patreon.com/friendlyatheist-podcast. And let's go to Tennessee.
You just took away money from immigrant refugees who were being deported.
Well, I brought a chocolate bar for one of my brother's students one time. She seemed pretty appreciative for that.
Okay.
Sorry, that was a poor joke.
I got two more for you. This one, in Canada, and I'm going to probably butcher the law here, but I'm going to try it anyway. Canada, in 2015, the Canadian Supreme Court, I can't believe you know more than 2 words. I only know 2 words.
I've been to Canada twice. So
2015's Canadian Supreme Court unanimously said that for certain people who are dying, who are suffering, who are at the end of their lives, if they want a physician to help them die, they are allowed to request, doctor, put me out of my misery.
Sure.
And again, there were very specific criteria you had to meet. They're not going to do it because you're depressed. They're not going to do it to anybody. You had to meet there had to be a certain number of boxes checked off the list. And this eventually, skipping over a lot of legalese here, it happened in June of 2016. Okay. It became a law. This is the way it's going to happen now. Okay, so physician-assisted death, totally legal in Canada. The rules are you have to be 18 or older, a Canadian citizen. You can't just travel from the U.S. to go there. You have to be mentally competent. You have to suffer from a, quote, serious and incurable disease, illness, or disability.
Okay.
And in a, quote, advanced state of irreversible decline with enduring and intolerable suffering. I mean, the window to be in that is very small. But dude, if you're in that window, life is not good.
Right.
You should have the right to say, just end it. Okay? And they know what they're doing when they say that. Okay, that's legal. Here's where it gets weird. Because in Canada, let's say you are at home and you have to go to the hospital. The ambulance comes for you. They'll take you to the closest hospital. They're not necessarily going to take you to your hospital, you know? And some of the hospitals in Canada, just like in the U.S., are run by the Catholic Church.
Oh, Christ.
So this poses a problem because the Catholic Church says we're not participating in that. We don't care about the staff, by the way. The staff isn't necessarily all Catholic, but the Catholic Church says we ain't doing this procedure in our hospitals. So last year, this was a controversy in Canada. There was an 87-year-old man in that small window of everything who was in enormous pain, wanted to end life on his terms, but he happened to be at a Catholic hospital, and they refused to help him out. So he said, well, transfer me, because this is an emergency, and I'm in real pain, and it's not going to get better here. And I'm going to read just what I wrote, because I remember looking at stuff when I was writing this. He spent the last several hours of his life trying to transfer to a new secular hospital. The ambulance was 3 hours late. The ride was bumpy enough to make his pain even worse. And all of this because this Catholic Church wouldn't help him. He eventually died at a secular hospital with the help of a physician, but not before like hours of unimaginable pain. You know, thanks, Jesus. Okay, that's not where I'm going with this. Here's where I'm going with this story. There is another hospital, a Catholic hospital, in Winnipeg, and the staff, the medical experts, they all said, we want to allow this procedure in our hospital because it's the humane thing to do. But it's a Catholic hospital. But all the staffers and the administration of that hospital said, yeah, we're on board with this. We want to allow this procedure because it's the right thing to do. But because it's a Catholic hospital, you got to run it by the big boys upstairs. And so what did the Archdiocese of, I don't know which place. I don't know. But the
Vancouver,
Catholic Church. Oh, I'm sorry. The Catholic Health Corporation of Manitoba. What did they do?
I was close, question mark? My Canadian geography is excellent.
They looked at this board of directors and they looked at how people voted. They just said, well, we get to choose how many people are on the board.
No.
So we're just going to put 10 more people on the board of directors and let's revote. And hey, they voted to not allow this policy. How shady and evil is that? So they had 16 people on the board, most of whom said, let's allow this assisted suicide, more or less. The church said, you're going to now have 26 people on your board. And, oh, look, now it's going to tip in our favor because all 10 of their people said yes. And the new board, like 2 people resigned. The former chairman resigned. There you go. That's what the Catholic Church is. And again, what's their purpose here? Their purpose is we want to follow the church rules. What are they actually doing, though? Let's ignore the professional doctors. Let's ignore everyone with expertise. Let's ignore our own staff on the ground. And let's make life worse for people whose life already sucks. Because religion. That's what they did. It's so disgusting and horrible what they're doing there. Like, there's no rational justification for this. And what message does it send to the doctors? You know, all your medical training and education, none of that matters. We make the decisions. You don't. Thanks for playing? I don't know.
It's shit like this which reminds me why what you and I do, I think, is meaningful and important. Because this idea to me of, so I think Catholic hospitals are kind of alarming in and of themselves. I think
the stat is 1 in 6 hospital beds in the U.S. is Catholic run.
That isn't even slightly surprising to me. And it's frustrating that it's sort of like this Mother Teresa thing of, oh, look how much good we're doing, but when you really examine it, she wasn't doing good. She was promoting suffering because she thought suffering brought
right. None of you get condoms. None of you get birth control. Your kids will suffer even though you don't want this pregnancy.
That's exactly right. So this is why kind of the organized religion garbage drives me crazy. Is that nothing matters besides their interpretation of their God or their Bible, right? So even if every shred of evidence we have says what condoms reduce the spread of
comprehensive sex education totally reduces unplanned pregnancies. You are going to have fewer abortions.
But it doesn't matter because of this weird thing. And
gay marriage does not hurt straight marriage.
It doesn't hurt
improves
anybody.
life for a lot of people.
And,
but the Bible says no.
And
in
so
this
when
interpretation,
like the horror of ending, so like say I was pregnant and I ended up at a Catholic hospital and I needed an abortion to save my life. What if I just die? What if
they literally will not help you in the case of an ectopic pregnancy, the egg stuck in the fallopian tube, you are going to die.
Yeah.
They will not kill, they will not do the abortion procedure.
That's the fucking thing, hospital. Is like we live in the most wealthy country in the world, and I could literally die because I called an ambulance a little bit too far west and ended up at a Catholic hospital. That is unconscionable. That is horrifying. And to parade it under this sort of like moral authority and like, oh, we're so pure and noble, when the Catholic Church in particular is fucking evil from the ground up. They have done nothing positive. That's not true. I'm exaggerating, but the negativity that they've sent into this world, whether it's not just like priests molesting children, because whatever, like individuals will do what individuals do, but the Catholic Church was like, oh, let's just put them near different children because we don't want a scandal. Like, God forbid we have a fucking scandal in the Catholic Church. And hey, we're going to open all these hospitals, but required care specifically for women, we're just not going to provide because fuck you. Or Hobby Lobby and their weird shit about birth control. Like, it's so fucking unconscionable that all they're doing is actively harming people to no end. To absolutely no end. Like, what's your fucking point, dude? Like, you really think that it's
infuriating.
It's just unimaginable. This man, the shit this man went through is I can't believe that they can go to sleep at night and think, oh yeah, I did super good today because the guy was fucking miserable for 6 hours under my care. So glad I became a doctor.
I think the Supreme Court case that in Canada that led to this thing, I can't remember his name, but there was a picture. The earlier court had said, no, the guy has to live. He's not allowed to die. This guy was in pain. Different guy I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. There was a picture of him crying in the courtroom after that verdict was read. I hope I'm getting the timeline right. It was just, it's as someone who has no emotions.
Yeah.
It's like, nope, I had a lot of emotions seeing that picture because that guy was miserable. And basically the court said, nope, you don't, it's illegal. They can't help you in your life on their terms.
It's a friend of mine. I've actually mentioned
Nick Linson. I'm going to figure this out.
I remember a few years ago, a friend of mine, I've mentioned him before. He's my
Tony Nicklinson.
Tony Nicklinson.
Go look up, just search his name.
I don't think
Google
I have that kind of emotional capacity.
And just search under images for Tony Nicklinson in the courtroom, and you'll find the picture, and it's just sad.
But my friend of mine, when I lived in Montana, he was from North Carolina.
Yeah.
He died a few years back. That's when I went to the Baptist funeral, and I've never been to a Baptist. Anyway, when he and I were working together, he was an ex-Marine, and I don't know why this stuck with me, but I just remember him saying, like, have you ever been in like real chronic pain? And I was like, I was 22, like I was fucking bulletproof at the time. and I said, no. He's like, I cannot describe to you how miserable it is to be confined to your bed. I mean, it's unimaginable, and for us being
imagine what you have to be going through to say death is a better option for me than whatever the hell I have to go through right now.
Yeah, and honestly, the fact that is sort of limited to physical, it sounds to me
physical pain only.
Man. As somebody who's like, I've dealt with depression and I've had dark places, but I can't imagine. And like, I have like your everyday run-of-the-mill depression that like 90% of people seem to have. But trying to imagine somebody with losing their cognitive functions, I could not.
Because you're humane.
Well, to me, the right to die is up there with anything else. Of like, it's my fucking life, and I get to decide when it's over.
And you're not doing this on a whim.
No.
I mean, these are things people have thought about, talked to their families about.
And I think anybody who's dealt with like very real mental illness or whatever can say like, yeah, physical pain is generally more, and that's honestly like a thing that's going on right now is we accept physical pain as real and something that like, oh, your arm hurts, I can associate with it. If somebody talks to you about their depression or whatever, and you've never dealt with that, it's so easy to brush it off. Like, oh, you're just sad. I've been sad before. But like
no, you don't understand how depression works.
You
That's not
don't understand how depression works. Like literally, I was having a really shitty day with my mental health, and 2 people tweeted nice things to me about this podcast, and I literally Googled to make sure people weren't like playing a prank on me or like people like people said very nice, sincere things about me. I'm like, oh, well, it's 2 people in one day, so they must be fucking with me somehow. Like, I cannot see good anywhere, and that's a fucking dark place to be. All that's to say that I believe very firmly in somebody's right to decide what's right for themselves, whether it's if I want to be pregnant or not, or whether I want to have sex or not, or whether or not I want to keep living. I don't think people take that kind of shit lightly. And I don't think it's anybody else's business besides their own and their loved ones. And even then, there has to be a final say, right? Oh, it's fucking garbage.
Canada.
Fuck.
All right, we're ending this on a slightly happier note.
Oh.
A lot of media outlets posted articles about a couple that has gone without food for many, many years.
I literally wouldn't read any articles about it because I'm like, Kevin's going to tell me all about this.
They're called Breatharians.
That's not new.
I've
heard of that garbage before.
But they haven't gotten this much attention. Maybe
sunlight.
Which is funny because I'm like, this is okay. If you're reading an article about people who survive on breath and they take in that, surely your first reaction should be, no, that can't possibly be right.
That's not how that works at all.
They claimed that food and water is not necessary. This is a husband and wife, Akahi Ricardo and Camila Castillo, believe food and water is not necessary. Humans can survive on the energy of the universe. They have only eaten a piece of fruit or vegetable broth just 3 times a week since 2008. And Camilla even practiced a breatharian pregnancy, not eating during the 9 months she carried her first child.
Hey, you know what? No, she didn't.
Yeah. So here's the questions everyone should be asking that the journalist did not ask.
Why are you lying about this?
Yeah. How do we know they actually said, or they actually did these things they claim to have done? Do you actually know that? Is there a doctor who can attest to this? Do they have video cameras or anything? Do we know they didn't eat anything? Did they ever cheat and say, I'll eat a little granola bar here and then I'll go back to my,
Do you think they poop?
I did not see anything in any article talking about their poop.
That's weird.
Yeah.
That's immediately what I thought about it because I'm a child.
That's where your mind goes. Yeah, but like these are basic questions everyone reading these articles should have been asking, and the reporters didn't ask.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is, so I understand vegetarianism, I understand veganism,
you're just 100% eating different
things. But like this, to me, feels like the very holier than thou thing of like, oh, you humans and your water. Like, yes. Oh, you're weak. It's just a willpower thing. You can make this lifestyle work for you if you just try. Like, that's what it feels very preachy to me, but I don't know to what end.
Right. So it's not just the lack of skepticism that a lot of media outlets just ran with this without questioning it. But I actually got a note from a reader who said you should post about this, but she said a point that I had not thought about, which is that there is a further harm in an article like this because it's not just a, haha, that's hilarious and kind of weird. She said, no, there are pro-anorexia like forums and like online websites that
I didn't
love these
think of
articles
that.
because it suggests that, look, you don't have to eat anything and you'll be okay. And like, no, this has a very real harm to a certain population of people.
I didn't think of that at all.
I did not either. So I was like, oh shit, you're right. Like, this could be really damaging, not just to this family and their kids, but let's just assume for the sake of everything they're lying. But no, it's not just something
Well,
you
I know
read
they're
and
lying. You
skip
know, I
over.
know they're lying.
Because they're alive?
Correct.
Yeah. But there are people who are going to see this and say, look, it's possible not to eat any food. Like, no, it's
Fuck,
not.
dude.
And this stuff is harmful. It's not just like you're bad journalists for not asking good questions here and bad readers for just not thinking about it. Like, this stuff does harm.
Yeah, and I think it's so easy to dismiss it as like a goofy, silly, dumb thing of like, oh, these people did this dumb thing that's clearly a lie, but ha ha ha, let's laugh about this like
And
crunchy granola couple.
It so diminishes all the people who are
does.
dying of starvation.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
they're just
Oh my God, that's an
Breatharians. No, they
excellent
just
point.
don't have food. They need food.
So I guess the logical conclusion there is like if anybody dies of starvation, it's what, a lack of willpower?
yeah,
Or...
they didn't try hard enough for the air.
Fuck.
Yeah.
I hate this podcast.
My favorite comment on the website. If they don't eat, how can they be so full of shit?
Oh, that's an
Burn.
excellent comment.
Burn.
Wow. This was a really... I have a headache from this episode.
It's so depressing.
That was awful. I shouldn't...
Let's end on that sad,
honestly,
sad
It was my
note.
fault because I had you burn the happy story in the middle.
I know. I was waiting till the
I
end.
didn't... Okay, to
You
be
didn't
fair...
think it through.
It's not that I didn't think it through. I didn't have all the information I needed to make that decision at that particular time because, Christ, I could use a funny story right now. My head hurts right here above my right eyeball.
You realize we haven't even really talked about Trump all podcast. Did you? Like, when was the last time that happened? Hey, before we go, on that happy note, we wanted to really thank people who are supporting us on Patreon. Let me just read their names really quick because they've really been wonderful in supporting us.
We appreciate you guys. Hammond's going to say
didn't
all
wanna
of your
say-
names exactly right.
Yeah, I'm sure. I didn't want to say their last names because
Oh,
I
fair.
feel like that's weird.
You don't want to be
so-
associated with us.
I know. But hey, Jonathan D, Sally C, Mitch C, Evan S, Nicholas V, Doug P, Matthew R, Ashley Lynn W, Laura M, Kathleen S, Ashley T, Mark N, Dang D, which is an awesome name, Chad O, Jillian D, and Pat D. Thank you so much for your support.
Oh, Chad O. I know who that is.
I know.
He tweets at us a lot.
Thank you. We really appreciate your support. So thank you so much. For anyone else listening, hey, if you want to keep this going and help us out,
Let's
patreon.com/friendly
get to
atheist
Tennessee.
podcast.
And buy me a bulletproof vest.
Thank you. I was going to say, yeah. And if you want to reach us, I'm at Hemant Meta on Twitter.
I'm at Blueberry, BLUEBURAE on Twitter.
And Friendly Atheist Podcast at gmail.com if you want to reach us.
Oh, Etsy, Bitches Get Stitched Done is my Etsy shop. Please order something from me. I
Yes.
would like to eat this week.
There you go.
JK, I'm being exaggerative.
You're a breatharian.
I'm a breatharian. That's my new diet. Thank you guys so much for listening. Tweet at us. I really we've been hearing a lot from people. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Also, every time I mention people complaining about my swearing, I get a bunch of tweets like, "We love you swearing, Jess," which is fun, and my mom hates it. So.
And those come from kids. It's all very disturbing.
It's Mickey Mouse, basically. Thank you so much for listening,
Thanks.
guys.
We'll talk to you next week.
Bye.
Bye.